Hi guys, Borjo here, bringing you another raid guide, this time for the Crumbling Icon inside the Molten Pools. This is a heavily script-based fight and more involved than anything else so far in the raid zone. My first recommendation is that you will either need 2 or 3 tanks. You can get away with 2 tanks if your raid DPS is high, but if it's still your first few times here, it can be safer with 3. This is down to a mechanic which will be discussed shortly. The Crumbling Icon is split into 2 distinct phases. Phase 1 lasts from pull until 50%, and Phase 2 from 50% till death. Let's discuss nuances about the fight which are the same in both phases. First thing, the Crumbling Icon must be tanked while he is stood in his lava pool. Failure to do this will mean he has a buff which negates 99% of all incoming damage. With clever positioning, the tanks can ensure they aren't in the lava, and Icon is. A raid member will also be randomly ported into the centre of the lava pool throughout the fight, and be rooted. With enough resists and hit points, as well as some heals thrown their way, they should be able to survive. This raid member should communicate with the group when they're ported. It's super important that healers do not death save this person. Once the root runs out, then that person should run back to the raid. There is a ticking AE that hits every 8 to 9 seconds during the fight for roughly 500,000 hit points. With resists and moderate gear, this is survivable. Okay, let's move on to the phases themselves. The first phase is for 50% of the Icon's hit points, and it's a mass burn phase. You need to basically push the mob to 50% as fast as possible to stop some mechanics which cause the most issues with raids. The main thing you need to think about during this phase is your distance to the Icon himself. If you're within 7 meters, you will start to take a stacking debuff. If this ever hits 10, you and everyone in a radius around you will die. This is the mechanic which will require either high DPS or 3 tanks to rotate this efficiently. Our main way of dealing with this is to have melee in and gain up to 5 stacks. Then they back out till they disappear. The reason we use 5 stacks is due to the teleport to the lava mechanic explained earlier. The person teleported cannot move, and if they are within 7 meters of the Icon, will continue to gain debuffs. If this debuff hits 10, then it's boom time. The way we position Icon in this video means anyone ported to the centre of the lava pool is out of range of the Icon. Tanks will also be gaining stacks of this debuff, so any off tanks need to be at range building hate, and when required to swap, 5 stacks if using 3 tanks, run in and swap. 2 tanks makes this fight all about mass DPS. There simply isn't enough time to get all debuffs to drop off before the next tank takes over, so pushing it to 50% is your only option. This debuff mechanic is the only thing you really need to worry about during Phase 1, as well as random lava ports. Phase 2 will begin at 50% and changes things up slightly. Icon will no longer be throwing out the debuff anymore, so one tank can hold him for the rest of the fight, and melee can safely stand close without fear. What will change is that he will now summon adds. He will summon 2 adds at a time, one called an Aluthoa Worshipper, and one called a Summoned Fearling. The Worshippers are not the ones you need to be concerned with at this time, but the Fearlings are. Have your off-tank grab both adds. All DPS needs to focus down the Fearling. Once it dies, it automatically kills the Worshipper too, providing it is close enough to it. If the Worshipper is out of range, then it won't die. Adds will continue to come for the rest of the fight. If the named hits 5% and a Worshipper is alive, he will heal to 100%. My recommendation is to call off all DPS around 8% or so, and wait for the next rounds of adds to spawn. Burst down the Fearling, then pour all DPS into the named. Verdict is very useful here. Icon will also have one more new mechanic this phase, a red text death touch. He will call a random raid member's name, and in roughly 8 seconds will kill them. Healers will need to death save this person. This is why you did not use your death save for anybody teleported to the lava randomly. If you don't death save this person and they die, they will be teleported to the entrance of the zone and will need to run back to take any more part in the fight. Missed death saves can snowball. This means less heals for the group, and that leads to more deaths. Less DPS leads to a longer fight. Do not miss death saves. And that's the fight in a nutshell, guys. As normal, I'll go through specific role help now. In the video behind you can see we've just hit 50%, so you'll start to now see the death save mechanic and the adds which are now in. So for tanks, you need to ensure that you are out when you need to be, and allow stacks to drop in Phase 1. Make sure to run in and stand on top of the existing main tank before you snap to prevent Icon moving. You may have noticed at the start of the video this was not happening with our off tanks. The mob was running around all over the place. As always, watch your debuffs and communicate when you need to swap. During Phase 2, the ad tank needs to make sure all ads are stuck to him and in the right position quickly, as the fearling can die very fast. For the healers, you need to put out moderate HPS during Phase 1, but be aware of anyone in your group being teleported. Throw some extra healing on these people. Ensure that you are at the correct range and watch your debuffs. During Phase 2, ensure you have discussed prior to this a death save rotation with any other healers in the group, and do not miss a death save ever. Obviously, it can pick on one particular group. For example, the mage group, if they've got one healer and that death save's been used, you're just shit out of luck, unfortunately, unless you've got anything magical that's going to save people. So, bear in mind that can happen. For the range DPS, push as hard as you can in Phase 1. Make sure on pull you are positioned correctly at 8 meters plus, and you'll never need to move the whole rest of the fight. During Phase 2, target the fearling as soon as you can and get it killed straight away. Communicate to your group if you get ported. Melee DPS have obviously got a little bit more rough on this one. You still need to push hard in Phase 1, but you've got to be very aware of your debuffs, okay? Back out at 5, let them drop, and then you can come back in. During Phase 2, basically doing the same as the range DPS. Burn the feelings as soon as they come in, as quickly as possible. In the background is the kill from one of our raids with some people missing. It's not the most clean raid we've done. As you saw, Phase 1, the icons running around. But, you should be able to see most of the mechanics at play. In fact, I'm getting hit right there with the red text, death save. But I'm death saved by our Fury, and we just carry on. So yeah, keep watching in the background, guys, see roughly how it goes. And good luck killing the icon. My name's Borgio. I'll see you guys next time.